If there is one thing every fantasy RPG fan knows, it's that Final Fantasy is practically a temple for the genre. But times change, and a new generation of games is arriving, promising to challenge that legendary throne. From massive open worlds to battles with innovative systems, these titles might even make you forget, for a while, your adventures in Midgar or Ivalice. Today, we're going to look at 10 new fantasy RPGs that could be even better than Final Fantasy, and some of them will surprise you. I'm Matthew, and the video starts now. Kingdom Hearts 4 is promising to be one of the most anticipated fantasy RPGs of recent years, and even without an official release date, anticipation is already taking hold of fans worldwide. The game marks the beginning of a new saga called the Lost Master Arc, and features Sora in a completely new world, Quadratum, which resembles a modern and realistic city, something never seen in the series until now. The revealed trailer shows Sora exploring this new environment with a more mature and urban aesthetic, quite different from the islands and fairy tale worlds we knew before. Donald and Goofy also appear, searching for an ally to rescue Sora, and we see the introduction of Strelitzia, a brand new character who promises to be central to the new plot. The mix of Final Fantasy and Disney elements continues, but now with a darker tone and a narrative that seems to be growing in complexity. The gameplay, though little has been shown so far, should maintain the agile and technical combat system that has always been the series' trademark, featuring memorable battles and challenging bosses. The absence of a traditional defense system requires the player to have quick reflexes and know how to use parries effectively, making every encounter unique and full of adrenaline. What impresses me most is how Square Enix is building this new chapter with such care, almost as if they want to ensure the story evolves alongside the fans who grew up following Sora from the start. The promise of new worlds, characters, and mysteries gives me that feeling that we are about to embark on a journey that could change everything we know about the Kingdom Hearts universe. Even with little concrete information, the atmosphere of mystery and the return of Ethan Hawke as a mysterious character in the trailer make everything even more intriguing. It seems the team wants to surprise us without giving away too many details ahead of time, which only increases my curiosity. Anyway, Kingdom Hearts 4 has everything it takes to be a milestone in the series, not just for its visuals and narrative, but for how it is positioning itself as a fantasy RPG that promises to blend nostalgia with real innovation. I can only imagine what the experience of exploring Quadratum, facing new enemies, and discovering the secrets behind Sora's disappearance will be like. It's impossible not to hope that this game exceeds all expectations.
一度退場すれば元の世界に戻れると思うな。
手がかり見つかるといいね。おい、どこへ行くんだよ。
Lost Hellden is a JRPG that is drawing a lot of attention for its unique, hand-painted art style and a fantasy atmosphere that blends classic elements with touches of sci-fi, creating a world that feels like it's out of a modern fairy tale. The team behind the game is made up of veterans who have worked on major franchises like Final Fantasy, so we can expect an experience crafted with great care for detail and narrative. The game follows Seifel and his allies on a journey through this vast world, where every decision can impact the course of the story. The combat system is a mix of action and strategy, allowing you to control up to 8 fully customizable characters, alternating between turn-based and dynamic action, which provides a very fresh and engaging feel. The artistic style is one of Lost Hellden's strong points, featuring illustrations by Takeshi Oga, responsible for Gravity Rush and Siren, and dynamic lighting and weather effects that bring the scenery to life. Every scene looks like an animated painting, and the attention to detail makes you want to explore every corner of the map. The story promises to be deep, with choices that shape the fate of the characters and the world around them. And the innovative combat has already been a highlight at events like Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show, where it gained international recognition. The game is scheduled to launch in 2025 for PC, PS5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch, and has already surpassed 50,000 wish lists on Steam, showing how excited the community is. There are still doubts about combat balance and whether the game will overcome Artisan Studios' past mistakes, as seen with Astria Ascending, but the hype is growing fast, and everything indicates that Lost Hellden could be a positive surprise for JRPG fans. If you enjoy engaging stories, rich worlds, and a distinct visual style, this is a game worth keeping an eye on. The Legend of Heroes: Trails Beyond the Horizon is the latest chapter in the iconic Trails series, delivering an experience that only those who follow the saga truly know how to appreciate. After years of waiting, we have finally reached the point where the West is catching up with Japan, and this game is the 13th title in the series, being a direct sequel to Trails Through Daybreak 2 and the penultimate entry in the current saga. The game promises an even denser plot, with the fate of the Zemurian continent at risk and humanity about to take its first step into space, something that completely changes the tone of the series. The story continues to follow Calvard and Van, characters who have already won over fans throughout several games, and features choices that directly impact the course of the narrative, maintaining the interconnected world style that Falcom is known for. The combat system follows series tradition with strategic terms, but with new features that promise to make confrontations even more dynamic and engaging. The gameplay has been enhanced to take advantage of console features like the Switch 2 and PS5, meaning sharper graphics and a smoother experience for those diving into this massive world. The setting is one of the highlights. From futuristic cities to mystical landscapes, every scenario seems to tell its own story. The soundtrack, as always, is impeccable, creating that atmosphere that makes us want to explore every detail of the map. The international launch is set for January 15th, 2026, for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Switch, Switch 2, and PC, with demos already available for those who want a taste before the big day. If you are a fan of the series, you will be moved by the references and how connected everything is. If you are new, prepare for a journey that will hook you for dozens of hours. Trails Beyond the Horizon isn't just another fantasy RPG. It's the pinnacle of a saga that has grown over years, with an ending that promises to leave everyone anxious for the next chapter. If you like deep stories, captivating characters, and a world that feels like it comes to life with every step, this game is a must on your list.
The Eternal Recurrence Plan will commence now.
You won't get away with this! The Legend of Heroes.
Dragon Quest XII: The Flames of Fate is one of the most anticipated RPGs of recent years, promising to bring a new era to the franchise with a darker and more mature approach, something we haven't seen in Dragon Quest yet. Announced in 2021, the game was developed using Unreal Engine 5, indicating an impressive visual and technical evolution for the series, maintaining its classic charm, but with a modern touch. Despite being highly anticipated, development has been slow and little has been disclosed, which generated rumors of cancellation. However, Yuji Horii himself, the creator of the franchise, guaranteed that the game is alive and that new information should emerge gradually. The focus seems to be on creating an experience that surpasses not only Dragon Quest XI, but also other major Square Enix releases, showing how much the team is investing in this project. The story promises to be deeper, with more adult themes and a dark atmosphere that contrasts with the traditionally lighter tone of previous games. This could attract both old fans and new players alike, as the game seeks to expand the boundaries of what the series has done before, creating a more complex and engaging universe. The visuals are being crafted to make the most of Unreal Engine 5's power, with detailed graphics and rich environments that are sure to make any RPG fan's mouth water. We don't have much information about characters or gameplay yet, but the expectation is that combat and the progression system will be refined, keeping the classic spirit while introducing modern innovations. The launch doesn't have an official date yet, but most predictions point to 2026, as the development seems to be moving at a careful pace. Even without many details, the hype surrounding Dragon Quest XII is massive, especially since Square Enix has remained silent, leaving the community even more curious. For those who love Dragon Quest, this game is a promise of something truly special. A new phase for the franchise with a more mature story, impressive visuals, and the usual care for the details that make each game unique. If you're a fan of fantasy RPGs, you can't miss out on this journey that promises to mark a new era. Phantom Blade Zero is the kind of game that seems too good to be true at first glance. But recent trailers and demos prove that it is real and brutally stylish. Defined by Studio S-Game as a kung fu punk action RPG, it blends classic Chinese wuxia aesthetics with a dark, almost steampunk atmosphere, creating a unique look running on Unreal Engine 5. The story puts you in the shoes of Soul, an elite assassin serving a powerful organization called the Order, who ends up framed for the murder of his master. After being saved by mystical medicine, Soul discovers he has only 66 days of life remaining, turning his journey into a desperate race for revenge and the truth before his time runs out. The combat is what truly sets this game apart from the crowd, focusing on fluid and choreographed movements reminiscent of martial arts films from the 80s and 90s. Unlike a traditional Souls-like, it doesn't punish the player with restrictive stamina bars, instead encouraging aggressive combos, fast blocks, and the use of over 30 different weapons, from dual blades to cannons and spears. Graphically, the game is a technical spectacle, utilizing ray tracing and DLSS 4 to deliver detailed environments and lighting that reinforces the melancholic and dangerous tone of the world. The bosses are colossal and possess mechanics that evolve during the fight, forcing you to master skills like Ghost Step, a perfect dodge maneuver that allows for instant counterattacks. The official launch is scheduled for September 9th, 2026, arriving simultaneously for PlayStation 5 and PC via Steam and Epic Games Store. It's worth noting that Sony secured a 12-month temporary console exclusivity, which means Xbox owners or owners of a potential Switch successor will have to wait until at least September 2027. For those who enjoy a cinematic action RPG with a combat system that rewards technical skill without being excessively punishing, Phantom Blade Zero is a must-have on the wish list. It promises to be a game changer for Eastern action games, bringing a blend of drama, revenge, and high-quality brawling. Project Awakening is an action RPG that promises to be one of next year's major highlights, bringing an epic fantasy experience and intense combat in a world that blends classic elements with unique touches of its own mythology. Announced years ago by Cygames in partnership with PlayStation Studios, the game has finally begun to show its potential with trailers and gameplay featuring dragons, gigantic environments, and impressive visuals, all set in a landscape that looks like it came from a dark fairy tale. The game's story is still shrouded in mystery, but we know that the player takes on the role of a warrior who faces colossal creatures, like dragons, and needs to use not only strength, but also strategy and the surrounding environment to win these epic battles. The combat appears to be a mix of Dark Souls and Shadow of the Colossus, focusing on exploration, environmental challenges, and a constant sense of danger that will keep any action RPG fan on the edge of their seat. The settings are one of the high points of Project Awakening, with detailed landscapes and environments that seem to live and breathe thanks to Cygames' artistic work. Each area seems to tell its own story, and the attention to detail promises to make exploration as rewarding as combat, encouraging the player to get lost in the world and discover hidden secrets. The official launch is planned for 2026, and the game will be a PlayStation exclusive for a time, which further increases fan anticipation. Cygames has guaranteed that the project is still in active development and that major updates should be revealed in the coming months, possibly including a demo for those who want a taste before the big day. For those who like fantasy RPGs with challenging combat, grand environments, and an epic atmosphere, Project Awakening is a game that cannot be ignored. It promises to deliver a unique experience with battles against colossal monsters, a living world, and a sense of adventure that few games manage to achieve. If you are a fan of games like Dark Souls, Shadow of the Colossus, or even God of War, Project Awakening might be the next RPG that will hook you for hours on end with challenges, mystery, and jaw-dropping visuals. Prepare for an epic journey in a world where every battle could be your last. Decapolice is a criminal investigation RPG that promises a unique experience for mystery and suspense fans, especially coming from Level 5, known for franchises like Layton. The game was originally announced for 2023, but has gone through several delays and is now scheduled for 2026, showing that the team is investing time to deliver something truly special. You will control Harvard Masks, a young amateur detective who needs to investigate various crimes, solve puzzles, and face the culprits in virtual combat involving different mechanics for each case. In addition to classic investigation, the game promises open-world systems and graphical enhancements that should make the experience more immersive and modern. The combat is a mix of action and strategy, with varied gimmicks that make each encounter unique, requiring not just logic, but also skill to overcome the proposed challenges. The story promises to be engaging, with twists, mysteries, and memorable characters, all with the typical Level 5 touch of humor and drama. Decapolice will be released for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC, which ensures access to a larger player base and shows the developers' care in catering to different audiences. The soundtrack also deserves a mention, with the theme song City of Love performed by singer Maria from the duo Garnadalia, which promises to make the atmosphere even more striking. Level 5 also announced that an animation is being produced to accompany the game's launch, indicating that Decapolice goes beyond the gaming universe, attempting to create a transmedia universe with more depth. This could be great for those who like stories that extend beyond the screen. If you enjoy investigations, mystery, creative combat, and well-told stories, Decapolice might be one of the most distinct fantasy RPGs we'll see in the coming years. It's a game that promises to surprise, especially for those already familiar with Level 5's style, and it's worth keeping an eye on until its 2026 release.
Like nothing I found, my mind overwhelms. I think that I'm broken, but I hope you can't help. I know I'm not perfect, but some days I feel bored or worthless. Baby, you make me feel nervous. If I still have you, I have purpose.
Project Tal is an action RPG that promises to redefine the genre with its cinematic approach, inspired by Korean mythology and folklore, and a proposal that blends intense action with deep narrative. The game is being developed by Madingen and published by We Made Max, with a launch scheduled for 2027 on PC and consoles, leaving the community anxious to see how this cultural and fantastic fusion will work in practice. You will control a protagonist who must face colossal monsters, exploit weak points, and use tactical combat to turn the tide of battle, all in an open world that blends visual beauty with strategic challenges. Climbing over giant creatures and fluid combos are some of the gameplay highlights, promising an immersive and cinematic experience, as if you were living out an action movie scene. The companion system is another strong point. Each ally has unique skills and a personality, and they react intelligently to your playstyle, creating moments of organic and strategic cooperation in battles. This adds an extra layer of depth, making each encounter feel unique and rewarding. The game's story revolves around healing a wounded world, with an emotionally engaging narrative that blends Korean mythology and epic fantasy elements. The setting is rich, with detailed landscapes and epic bosses that promise to challenge even the most experienced players. Initial public reception was extremely positive, especially due to the gameplay trailer that showed intense combat and a striking visual aesthetic. Project Tal is being seen as one of the most promising action RPGs of recent years, especially for those who enjoy games with a strong cultural identity and innovative mechanics. If you're a fan of action RPGs, deep narratives, and fantastic environments, Project Tal could be one of next year's major highlights. Prepare for a journey that promises to move you, challenge you, and keep you watching for its 2027 release. The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, is an action RPG that promises to bring a unique experience, with a blend of HD 2D visuals and dynamic gameplay, all set in a world called Philadelphia, full of beauty and danger. Developed by the same team behind Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default, the game combines classic RPG elements with fluid action, creating a setting that looks like it came from a modern fairy tale. You will follow Elliot on an epic journey that spans millennia, facing challenges, exploring mysterious dungeons, and unraveling the secrets of a world dominated by dark forces. The combat is action-based, with strategic support from allied characters like Faye, who bring new layers of tactics to encounters. The feeling is that of a game that respects the genre's past, but isn't afraid to experiment with new things. The HD 2D visual style is one of the major highlights, bringing detailed environments and an atmosphere that blends nostalgia and modernity, something that will please both those who grew up with classic RPGs and those seeking something new. Every detail seems designed to create total immersion, with combat requiring reflexes and strategy, alongside a story that promises to be memorable. The launch is planned for 2026, with the game coming to PC, PS5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch 2, ensuring access to a wide player base. A demo is already available for Nintendo Switch 2, allowing fans to get a taste of what's to come before the full release. The narrative is deep, with twists and captivating characters, and exploration is rewarding, encouraging the player to discover every corner of the world and engage with Elliot's story. The game promises to be a tribute to the best of the genre, but also an attempt to reinvent what an action RPG can be. If you're a fan of fantasy RPGs, epic stories, and striking visuals, The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales is a game that deserves special attention. Edge of Memories already won me over by its name, and the promise of being that kind of melancholic fantasy that makes you want to explore slowly, just to absorb the atmosphere. It is described as an intense action RPG in a world on the brink of extinction, with a release scheduled for 2026. What we can confirm today is that the project is from Midgar Studio, published by Nacon, and is listed as an RPG for PC via Steam. It also appears with confirmed versions for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, so the idea is to reach the console and PC audience at the same time. And there is a detail that, honestly, I prefer when it happens. The game was pushed back to 2026 after being planned for a 2025 window, which usually means let the team cook longer, instead of rushing the release. Of course, delaying hurts the anticipation, but sometimes it's exactly what an RPG needs to get its rhythm, combat, and polish right. Regarding where this all takes place, the setting mentioned in previews points to the continent of Avaris, and that name alone gives off an ancient world vibe, full of buried history. When a game places the plot in a specific location right away, it's easier to imagine cultures, conflicts, and that sense of a map with an identity. If the proposal is indeed an action RPG, and not just an RPG with an attack button, what excites me most is the chance for combat with impact and movement that matches this more dramatic atmosphere. On the PlayStation page, it also appears as a single-player offline experience, so the expectation is for a well-focused campaign without live service distractions. Ultimately, Edge of Memories has that look of a game that wants to pull you in through curiosity, a world in collapse, fantasy with weight, and a straightforward single-player package. If the execution matches the promise, and the extra time from the delay, this one has everything to be a keeper for those who enjoy more serious and atmospheric action RPGs.